Hey, everybody, how we doing? Johnny Concert, welcome to the podcast. To my right,
I'm Reefa Jones.
Reefa Jones. And we like to talk about music. So today, our topic of the day is sporting events versus concerts. Both, top-notch entertainment. You got your pro sports teams. You got your national touring acts, international touring acts.
Most of us love them both.
I love them both. I mean, in a perfect world, you go both. But my buddy Brad Bungle used to always say, I like touchdowns more, or guitar solos more than I like touchdowns. So we'll see. It's for grabs whether you like touchdowns better or guitar solos better. And, of course, we love both. We're both lifelong Bronco fans.
That's right.
And he's a super fan, actually. He's front row season tickets.
I have to say, I love Johnny always touchdowns.
Always
more than
could do no wrong
most
in our
concerts
eyes.
I could think of.
That's true. Elway is a little bit of an exception. That's true.
Yeah, it leaves a deep imprint.
Oh man,
those touchdowns.
I mean, how many games were we at? With those last 2 minutes, he came back with little or no talent around him.
Yeah,
and still would drive us down for a win. Yeah, except for they mentioned on talk radio the other day. We were talking about John Elway when he played against Joe Montana. Montana played with the Chiefs at the end of his career. That's right. And we went down in like 2.5 minutes to go, and John Elway went down and scored the touchdown. And then Montana came back, and with 1 minute to go, and came back and scored the touchdown to beat us. But in Mile High Stadium, that was rare.
That was very rare. That's right.
But yeah, so you got basic things of sporting events. You sometimes win the game, sometimes lose the game. So you never know you're not guaranteed to win. And at the concert, even a mediocre concert, if you're picking your bands, even a mediocre concert's pretty dang good. And, I found that since COVID, most bands are really playing top notch. I mean, they're not missing a note because they had 2 years to practice. Everyone was locked up. So what are you going to do? Play guitar. So, most of the concerts I've seen in the last few years have been just incredible, like literally like not missing one freaking note. It's just phenomenal. So, but you're almost guaranteed to win when you go to a concert. But not necessarily. You could get too drunk. Your girlfriend get in a fight with your girlfriend. There's things that can happen. But in general,
pretty rare though.
The product is usually getting guaranteed a B or an A. You're guaranteed to win pretty much.
Most of those too drunk experiences happened back in my 20s.
Yeah.
So when I was much younger.
Me too, I guess. No, for the most part, I'm slightly more responsible, not by much. Maybe just a little bit, but
I think the difference between the two, concerts versus sporting events, is could be the expectations of and the excitement level of win or lose.
True.
And a concert, you're going to get what you expect, but you're not going to get the high from the.
Well, but still the stirrings of before a concert, man. If it's a really good band, you're like, oh man,
it's going to be.
But I know what you're saying. It's a toss up. You don't know if you're going to win or not. That's part of it. You're like, okay, how are they going to do? Because it'd be like if you're at a concert and in the middle of a guitar solo, some guy comes out and tackles you.
I'd rather be at a tight game and lose it than be at a blowout and get blown out.
I agree.
And the excitement of that tight game.
But if you got season tickets, every once in a while you can enjoy a blowout game.
But it's awesome to be at a tight game and to come out ahead. I mean, to be walking out of there high-fiving everybody.
Do you think they've ever put biofeedback stuff on a fan at a football game and watched his adrenaline levels and EKG, all his readouts, all his physiology readouts?
You do blood work
during the
before
game?
The game and after.
Yes. We're putting that on the list. If it hasn't been done, we're going to get to it. So, but the sports, there's a lot to be said about like the Olympics. They say was basically started so the power players could steal the power while they're distracting you with the Olympics. So in a way, it's been known to be a distraction to the main things. But competition's good. It's necessary and fun and makes life worth living.
Yeah.
And so, but the history is crazy.
It is.
Mike's got some history for us. Reefa Jones has some history for us.
You bet. The history of sports and the history of entertainment, they kind of, entertainment pretty much, I believe, was first. Just overall entertainment, storytelling, ancient ones, and singing.
The bards, and,
singing and
quoting poetry or writing poetry.
And myths.
The Fool and the King's Court,
stories.
But
sports came along perhaps a little bit later.
But think about it, if you're running from a dinosaur, that's kind of a sport. So I'm thinking maybe sports came first.
There could have been.
Yeah.
All right, we're
Grog
gonna
run
have a
fast.
Who gets my daughter?
Grog run faster. You know that?
We're gonna have a little test. You guys run out there, run the gauntlet.
I always joke about
the
that.
T-Rexes.
When people talk about Irish whiskey, Jameson versus Grand Marnier, I'm like, well, Irish whiskey was made because their back was killing them because they were mining all day. And like anything you can make just to get rid of this back pain would be fine. Whereas Grand Marnier was invented, which is cognac, orange-flavored cognac, which is brandy. And it's, when the French were ruling the world and the king would say, whoever can bring me the finest beverage can have the hand of my daughter. They brought him Grand Marnier. So
Grand Marnier.
it's a little different, but I digress.
Yeah.
But yeah, you think about Central Americans, the Mayans, and all those guys.
The soccer and basketball, the Mayans or the Aztecs had wherever they, I guess, maybe first had rubber balls, but they also would use animal skins too to make a ball.
Well, when they were running from the dinosaurs, their balls got a little rubbery. All that running.
3,000, it's dated at least 3,000 years ago. But why would we play? Why would a dog chase a ball? Why would any of us chase a ball? It's fun. It's exciting.
The body was meant to move. You got to move the human body. So
Yeah, I was reading earlier about lacrosse and some of the legends there that it was to satisfy the creator. Was why they were playing. So somehow they believed that's what that was, to play games and have fun was something that God or the creator, whatever you want to call it,
stakes were pretty high.
Do.
Yeah, you got your head cut off if you lost, I think.
But some of the games, there could have been, you might have been sacrificed if you lost.
There's, it's
all for the good.
If those old players saw these guys now, they're like, wait a minute, those guys are making $300 million. I was kept in a cage and told when to play ball. They got a little screwed back there,
Well, maybe the winner did get the equivalent of what would be $300 million today back then.
But think about, if you lost the ball, it's like they had to kill an animal, gut it and get the vellum of the stomach lining to make the ball. It took forever, and they said, I lost the ball. What are you talking about, man? It took us forever to make that ball. There's not a backup. There's not a Big Five Sporting Goods down the way. You just go get another one.
I would think they probably had an extra ball somewhere.
But you see those, maybe.
There's rumors that there was sometimes used heads. But,
that's right.
But I hadn't verified.
Hey, but that's
I wasn't there to see
the dude that lost the ball, they cut his head off, and they said, "Hey, we got a new ball now, buddy."
He's got an awfully round head.
They're looking at him. It's like you see the cartoon where you're looking at him. All of a sudden, you see a picture of a soccer ball where his head was, with a hat on it. But yeah, you think about those. Do you see the illustrations of the Mayans, and they have the stone thing with the circle in it, and they're kind of playing a soccer and a basketball kind of blend or whatever it is.
The hips, their knees, their feet, their shoulders.
Well, yeah, you have no shoes or socks on. You're kicking this ball. It's got to kill your feet a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But to get it through that, it looked pretty difficult to get it through that little spot.
It was a sideways hoop.
It was a sideways hoop.
Yeah.
Right, but they were kind of playing soccer. It's like, so you got a goalie. How are you going to get it past the goalie in a little hoop like that, It seems pretty tough to me.
They had to use their hands, too.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what you said earlier. They use their heads. Oh, you meant thinking. Okay, guys.
Their hands. They had to have. They had to have dribbled the rubber balls, too.
Yes. I wonder if there were penalty kicks and stuff like that. Were there referees, It had to be referees, right?
Probably the high priest.
The high priest, maybe,
It would have been.
or the Caesar or the king or whatever it was.
But they would play the games to
Quetzalcoatl, maybe.
at times to resolve conflicts, and I believe they also did it to lacrosse was played at times to keep peace between different tribes and to resolve conflicts between them. So that was a kind of a theory of mine that I wanted to delve into a little bit about how in America here and now also in the entire world, but in America, in the U.S., how we, with the advent of sports, high school sports and college sports and now pro sports, that has stopped us from having a civil war where because it allows high school to high school, city to city, state to state to compete against each other and kind of take our, resolve conflicts like they used to do years ago between the tribes.
And then you shake each other's hands at the end instead of enslaving the other team. No, it's a good point.
Conquering.
It's a good point.
There's a different, more of a modern way to a peaceful way.
Well, the smaller little communities, you just get sick of having a war that all your buddies are gone. Who is left? What are we going to do now? Hey, let's on the next one, let's just play a game. How about that? That might be.
And it pleased the creator is what.
Well, it is entertaining, and it's cool to watch people excel.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's a good thing to watch. But tell them about your super fans. He has front row season tickets to the Denver Bronco games.
Yeah, and, for all those years.
Yep.
The COVID kind of shook me, and my brother haven't gone to games, but for 30 years, the whole Elway era.
Oh, every game.
And then
front row on TV on ESPN because they're super fans. So you got all dressed up.
We'd face paint.
They're face painters.
Too. You bet. I come from a family of clowns going back to a
long line of face painters.
Yeah, from my great aunts all the way down, and my mom and my aunts and cousins. We were all clowns. They'd dress me up as a clown as a kid, so it came natural for me to be a face painting Bronco super fan clown. A little bit of a Western mix to it, but.
Well, and if you know your Shakespeare, though, the fool was the most powerful person in the king's court, not the king. Fool was actually more powerful.
That's right.
So it's another skill, and I think about rodeo clowns too. That's another one.
Yeah.
That's another part. Side point of the tangent of the entertainment, dude. You got your bull riders, and then you got your rodeo clowns, which are just as entertaining, if not more, sometimes.
Yeah, I'd go for the rodeo clown look quite often. I used to we ended up later on in the last, I think 3 or 4 years, we hired a face painter, which it's pretty good, but some of my best looks were my own.
Yeah.
But rodeo clown look was one of my favorites. But I could remember driving to the game, and it's a little dangerous because I'd be face painting with my rear view mirror as I'm driving to meet my brother.
Oh, you're really not supposed to put your makeup on when you're driving, Mike. I mean, Reefer. RJ, you're really not supposed to do that. That's frowned upon by the distraction police. Being an athlete, sports, great peripheral vision, never had an incident or an accident. There you have it. Okay. See, it was almost like you were engaging in a sport on your way to the sporting event.
But as I realize as I'm aging through time and space that I don't have quite those margins. The margins for errors have tightened up on quite a bit.
I'm in denial on that. I think I'm just humming along just fine. So thank you very much.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure I'd do it again if I needed to. Face painting on the way to the game.
So tell me one of your best Bronco stories. One of your best favorite games you ever went to? Favorite or best or most exciting or?
Oh, gosh. AFC Championship, Peyton Manning. When did we beat the Patriots in 2014 maybe?
I think we did. We definitely beat Brock Osweiler had to come in to beat the Patriots in the regular season, which is why we had the home field because of that game. Yeah, and I believe if memory serves me, there's still one team that Tom Brady has a losing record against, and that's the Denver Broncos. Yeah, the only team of anyone in the NFL. Yeah. If I'm not just trying to say anything. I'm just trying to say something.
That was one of my all-time favorites. It was so cold. I think it was 8 degrees or minus 8 degrees. I don't know. was just
crazy.
cold.
Well, the funny thing too is, Mike gives me his tickets one year, and it happened to be the coldest game in NFL history against the Chicago Bears. And my girlfriend Paula and I were freezing our buds off, and we're like, "Hey, we've been waiting for these tickets for a while. We're not giving them up." I believe, if I remember right, that's the one where the Bears had us. They were coming down to win the game, and then third down, we knocked him out of bounds. Rashawn Salam, maybe it was. Anyway, I think we stopped him. I mean, they had us dead to rights, and then we ended up winning the game.
Yeah.
I believe, was that Tebow year? Maybe I think it might have been a Tebow year.
It may have been.
It was Tebow. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was also when pretty sure it was when the construction was going on. So it was like the old Mile High was being demoed, and the new Mile High was where we saw the game. But it was the old one was still up, so they were still working out the kinks on that. But
yeah,
but that's funny because we were like, oh, cool, thanks for the tickets, Mike.
Shit. Yeah, it wasn't I was trying to. I didn't mind going to those cold games. I kind of like them.
Oh, you like cold games, but not that cold.
Yeah, I would put on my.
And Paula was sick as a dog too. My girlfriend at the time, Paula was sick as a dog. But she's like, I'm not missing this for the world. So
yeah, what's your best concert you ever been to?
Oh man, Pink Floyd by a mile. Pink Floyd for sure. Yeah. Number one and number two is Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd at Mile High Stadium twice. It was the Division Bell tour was the best one. But at the time, Momentary Lapse tour, when I saw that, was the best because it was the first time that you ever heard good sound at Mile High Stadium. Stadium tours are not that easy to have good sound in. And Pink Floyd actually had speakers up in the fifth level all around. Two. It was quadraphonic sound, so behind you, directly opposite the stage, and then on the two sides. And when they play One of These Days, you go bam, 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 bam. Everybody's like, "What the hell? Where's that sound coming from?" It was incredible. And so that was just phenomenal concert. Wow. And there was an airplane when there's a part of the wall, the album The Wall, where it goes into a kamikaze pilot, and the plane's going down, and and a plane came from the upper deck over our heads and crashed on the side of the stage. They had a plane crash at the concert. Like, a concert's not cool enough. I was throwing a plane crash. Let's really get these guys that are excited. And then there was when they played the song Money, there was these $100 bills, like huge $100 bills, like 6-10 feet long and wide. And they seemed like you could almost grab them. They were above your head, like about 5 feet above your head. And you reached up, you're trying to grab them. And yeah. Think about me a Learjet, maybe two.
Money.
So the Division Bell tour, it was so extensive that it had 80 semis of equipment to set up each date. And it took so long to set them up that they had 3 sets of 80 semis. So when they were playing in Denver, they were setting up in Utah and Arizona because the setup time was so long. When they finished a date, they would leapfrog in front of the other two. So there's 240 semis of equipment to run that tour. That's a big tour. And it was also the first. The Momentary Lapse was the first one that cost a lot of money. Like, we were used to paying $20, $30, $40. $40 was like, wow, outrageous. This was $80 at the time. In 1989, 88, 89 was the first one, Momentary Lapse. We're like, man, $75 a ticket. And then when you got there, you're like, oh, yeah, this is way worth $75. I mean, it's not only one of the coolest controversies, it's just one of the most amazing things I've ever seen of anything I've ever seen in my life. And the sound was actually so perfect that it was just mind-boggling how good the sound was. So that one was not, Roger Waters was not on that tour. They had gotten in a fight and broke up. And 3, Rick Wright and Nick Mason and David Gilmour won the court case so they could keep using the name Pink Floyd. And so Roger Waters was himself. He did tours under Roger Waters, and they did Pink Floyd. And so, a lot of, you get the purists out there and say, oh, it's not Pink Floyd without Roger Waters. Well, yes, it is. And it's incredible. So, which I never got to see Pink Floyd with Roger Waters, which is
Me neither.
One of my regrets. But What about you? What's the best concert you've ever seen?
Well, seen some great ones, but that ZZ Top at McNichols.
Oh, that's the first McNichols show? Oh no. No, the first show
90?
and last show, I mean, Nichols Arena
91
was
maybe?
top. Okay, I was at that one.
Yeah,
They had
me
the
too.
moving sidewalks where they'd walk the other way on the people movers. It looked like they weren't going anywhere.
That was a couple of years before I
That
met
was
you
fantastic.
too.
And furry guitars. And
Yeah.
Great show. Was it Eliminator or maybe a tour after Eliminator? Maybe. Fantastic. I mean, well, and Billy Gibbons, Jimi Hendrix said that Billy Gibbons is the best blues guitar player of all time. So I mean,
Take it from a
that's
stud there.
that's about as good high praise as you can get. So in Guitar World magazine, I read Guitar World magazine, even though I don't play guitar, because you get everyone that all the reporters and journalists in Guitar World magazine are all expert guitar players. And so when a guitar player is interviewing another guitar player and they understand at a certain level, then they open up more and they tell you. Sometimes it gets too technical for the layman, but in general, they'll open up and tell you better stories and better information than some knucklehead from Rolling Stone that never heard of the band. You just got to sign them, and the guy's like, he asks him, he mispronounces it. Oh, by the way, which one's pink, And so, that's, but anyway, in Guitar World magazine, they have every year they have the best of edition. And it's the best guitar. The first question is, who's the best guitar player of all time? And then it says in parentheses, like we even need this question, like we even need to ask this, because Jimi Hendrix wins every year. So if Jimi Hendrix says you're a great guitar player, then that's pretty good, pretty dang good. Yeah. So, and Billy Gibbons is that. So when Billy Gibbons, before ZZ Top, they were called the Moving Sidewalks, and they opened up for Jimi Hendrix on tour. And that's when Jimi Hendrix got every night he would watch Billy Gibbons play guitar. Yeah. And so that's when he said that was 69, maybe 68, 69. He said, "Yep, that is a hell of a guitar player right there." So.
Throw Prince into the mix as a guitar player. What do you think?
Well, I remember they asked Eric Clapton one time. They said, "What's it feel like to be the best guitar player of all time, or the best guitar player in the world?" He said, "I don't know. Ask Prince." So that's a famous quote there. That yeah, but it's Prince he's pretty good, but I'm not gonna quite put him up there myself. But I understand why people do.
Yeah, you could rip it.
So ZZ Top, and that is a great one. But Pink Floyd Light Show mixed with their songs are so universal. Time, Breathe, Money. I mean, they just write about the essence of humanity, the essence of society, and they get right down to the.
Oh, they do. The Pink Floyd show at 5 years ago at when it was called the Pepsi Center. I think you were there also.
Oh yeah, it was Roger Waters. Yeah, that was Roger Waters. He's different from Pink Floyd, but
I get
Pink Floyd
confused.
too. It's Pink Floyd. It's Pink Floyd too. It's called Roger Waters.
In my mind, I overwrote it and just said this is Pink Floyd.
It is. I agree. But Roger Waters' solo albums are very good as well. He's Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. He's got Radio Chaos. He's got Amused to Death is one of his solo albums. Great title. And he always gets the best guitar players in the world to play on his solo albums, too. He had Eric Clapton on Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, and he had a guy named Andy Fairweather Lowe played on Radio Chaos. Andy Fairweather Lowe tours with Joe Satriani and other great guitar players because he can play bass and guitar. And so if, like Roger Waters sometimes plays guitar, sometimes bass. So Roger Waters will pick up the bass. Andy Fairweather Lowe is the guitar player, but every once in a while, Roger Waters wants to pick up a guitar, and Andy Fairweather Lowe can pick up a bass and do just an amazing thing. So, and then on the Amused to Death with Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck played guitar on Roger Waters. Amused to Death.
Wow.
Who,
favorite
rest
song?
in peace. Rest in
favorite
peace.
song by Floyd or Waters?
Oh gosh, Dogs. It's my favorite Pink Floyd song. Out the Animals album. 17 minutes long.
Mine's Set Your Controls for the Heart.
Set the controls for the heart. Nothing wrong with it. That's a hell of a song. Well, you got the Live at Pompeii. So that's a perfect tie-in. Pompeii, where they used to house the Olympics, and of course was ruined by the volcano. It was Etna or Vesuvius. I can't remember. One of the volcanoes erupted and buried Pompeii, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. And so then they didn't have any events there. And then in the 70s, Pink Floyd set up in the middle of Pompeii, and they played a concert. They called the Concert for the Dead. And it's Live at Pompeii. I think it's 77, Live at Pompeii, and it's absolutely astounding. It's so freaking good. It's just amazing. And then David Gilmour on his last tour, he played Pompeii, which is like, I don't think they'd have an event there since the Olympics 3,000 years ago.
Wow.
And so it was pretty crazy. Anyway.
So back on topic here.
Yes, but I digress.
Sports versus concerts. What's the difference between them, and what do we love about them both? They're both great forms of entertainment. They both have that ability to give you some type of memorial impact on you.
Sure.
That you'll
Seminal
never
moments.
forget.
Yes.
Yeah, almost orgasmic in a sense.
I mean, it could actually, kind of like where were you when JR got shot or when Kennedy got shot? Where were you? I remember that because that was the year of that one tour by so and so. They could actually set your chronology of your life.
Those memories.
They both feature people performing at their best and excelling.
Yeah, they make a deep imprint on the memory banks.
Talent, displaying talent and people we wish we had, and sometimes we have some of it, and so we can almost think we can do something like that, and some of us can, but it also gives you some incentive to up your game. What are you doing sitting around? You can be playing guitar too, or playing better.
I can remember Judas Priest at McNichols when I think it was 82.
Screaming for Vengeance.
Was it Screaming for Vengeance?
Or I might even been Hellbent for Leather. Yeah, Hellbent for Leather before Screaming. Yeah.
Rob Halford comes out on the motorcycle.
Hell yeah. Hellbent for Leather. So good. Yeah. Yes. That Rob Halford and Judas Priest, arguably one of the best bands, if not the best band of all time. And that's going to be another one of our topics, of course, best band of all time. And you got to set the parameters, and Endurance is one of them, and they've been around since. I mean, they're still touring. They're about to tour again.
Well, and that made a deeper imprint on my memory bank than a football game I went to that year. I can't tell you.
That's true.
I can't remember who the Broncos played that year.
Right, but you remember that AFC Championship game, and you remember certain games, like certain concerts. You remember.
Yeah.
But could you remember how it felt to be there, and like when you tell the story, to the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, It's
and the losses sometimes you can remember better.
Heartbreaking.
When we lost against the Ravens. And we lost against the Jaguars
I was at the game, Jacksonville Jaguars.
The old stadium.
Mark Brunell did a 30-yard, kind of like a youngest yard, kind of Burt Reynolds move.
That scarred me.
The hell? I was in the northeast curve of the stadium, right? We're watching Brunell come right towards us.
And I was at 524 on the front row. That was when we didn't have the front row seats over on the 3-yard line.
Okay.
And so I was just probably sitting right up above you, and it just was like, no.
I mean, that game was so in the bag. We didn't even have a thought in our heads that we could possibly lose that game. My buddy and I actually, we're like diehard fans. We're watching every play. We're like really into it. But that year we're like, Jacksonville, whatever, dude. We had shrimp cocktail going. We're like making casual conversation during the game. Then all of a sudden, like, wait, what? What is going on here? That we would have won 3 Super Bowls in a row if we won that game.
Because it was a cakewalk in.
Cakewalk in, man. So we thought.
And then they won the next 2. And then, what was it, the Ravens took us out in the AFC Championship, I believe, on that play.
The Ravens. Flacco.
Forgetting the name of
Flacco, who then came to play for us.
And didn't play worth a hoot, bless his heart.
When he played for us, he didn't do shit.
But he threw that pass, and the cornerback, I believe, he went for the interception instead of the knockdown.
Right, he missed it by
And he could have knocked it down. It looked like to me that he could have knocked it down.
I got a great story for that because I can't remember what I was doing, but I had a very important event. So I DVR'd the game. And it went into overtime, and so I came back and watched it. I said, no, don't tell me who won. Don't tell me anything about the game. I want to watch it. So I watch it, and then before that play, the DVR ended, the recording. And I was sitting there like, what the fuck? You got to be kidding me, man. So I still didn't know who won the game.
Speaking of something similar to that, what year was it? In the late 60s, early 70s, there's this is a Raider somebody game, and it's called the Heidi game.
Okay.
And at the it was before, and I think the game went into overtime, and the game it flipped over to at 5 o'clock or whatever time it flipped over to Heidi, And whole country
waiting with bated breath. Come on.
like, what? Everybody's probably scrambling for the radio.
Yeah, back then, you didn't look it up on the internet who won. You're like, what? We got to wait for the paper in the morning?
The legendary Heidi game. What year
hilarious.
was that? You keep going. I'll look it up.
We did our producer to look that one up.
I'll be the producer for the moment here.
That's right. So,
but yeah, the imprint, the losses, I remember more so than the great wins. For whatever reason, and it has to do with how that imprints on the memory bank. At concerts, a pleasant memory throughout the whole thing.
Well, the other thing though is as much as as great as sports is, sometimes you'll hear a guitar solo or there's a lyric that would change your whole life. It would change the way you think about life, change who you are, basically. And I don't know if there's ever been a football game that quite changed my entire outlook on life.
You're right.
I mean, they're pretty deep. Yeah. They're pretty cool, but I don't know if they're that deep. As deep as
The Heidi game, November 17th, 1968.
60. I was at that game. Oh, no,
American Football League match between the Oakland Raiders and the New York Jets. The game became infamous when NBC cut away from the final minutes to broadcast the children's movie Heidi with 65 seconds left of the game. The Jets were ahead by 3 points at the time. However, the Raiders scored 2 touchdowns in just 9 seconds and won the game, 43 to 32.
For those of you who still haven't seen the end of that game.
Yeah. I was just a 7-year-old kid at the time, and I think you were just
I was 0
still
or 1,
still sitting on your mama's lap.
I was 0 years old, but that's hilarious, man. Who's the guy that made that decision? Like, okay, we're going to cut away. Wait. Should we stay with this loss? No.
It was the machine.
We got Heidi. We got Heidi coming on. We're got a strict schedule here.
It was programmed, and he couldn't override it. Everybody was scrambling.
They didn't have the thing.
Back on.
They didn't have the thing. Yes, is due to contractual demands, we got to switch to Heidi at this point, or Heidi will be shown directly after the conclusion of this beloved game.
And then Heidi wasn't played for years after that, probably.
Yeah,
I remember everybody hated it because of that.
The Heidi backlash was significant. People were burning their copies of Heidi in the street. their Betamax copies of Heidi in the shit. It was funny stuff. Yeah. Well, think about the Olympics, though. Think about the way athletes are treated versus, you were fed to the lions. You had to compete against the lions, or you were beat. And they kept you in a cage and fed you bread and water and said, okay, good luck against those lions, buddy. And then nowadays these guys are coddled with Learjets and it's kind of a little bit different there.
Yeah.
Think about the early NFL guys had to have a job on the side, They still worked a job, even though they were NFL
Same
players.
with the NBA basketball players, too. They weren't paid a lot.
Well, and same with many bands that were starting out. The guys were the dishwashers as the guitar player. So the bottom line is I wanted to see both. But I rarely get to an NFL game anymore, and I still go to tons of concerts. So I guess that shows you what camp I'm in.
Well, it's hard. It's been a little tougher to be a Bronco fan the last several years.
True. That's true too.
With our new quarterback Bo Nix, it looks like things could be on this serious turnaround.
But absolutely. But think about this too: is like if you see a hockey game on the glass, then that's up here, versus if you got mediocre seats to a concert with it and the sound's not as good as it could be. That sometimes sometimes the experience can win out. But the other thing is, think about this: they all have free agency in a way. You think about all the bands that they got to fight, creative differences, and they got a new lineup. It's like, who traded? But that'd be a good SNL skit. Where they're trading. I'll trade you my guitar player for your drummer. Get him a new contract, and then we put on. You have to change your concert shirt to the other shirt. They have to redo the concert shirts, the pictures of the old band and the new band, and so let's hope they don't institute free agency and in music. So
Well, it kind of is there already. And remind me why Rogers and Gilmore and those guys split up in the first place?
They just both wanted control. They wanted control. For instance, in Dark Side of the Moon, Roger Waters wanted more saxophones, and David Gilmour wanted less saxophones, more guitar, and such like that. But Roger Waters, I mean, he just had these ideas where it was just his thing.
Well,
and so after a while, he was like, "Well, we got a thing too, buddy," So but think about on the wall, the two songs, "Comfortably Numb" and "Run Like Hell," were written by David Gilmour. The whole rest of the album is basically written by Roger Waters. It's his story, and so but the two best songs, pretty much.
Remind me the behind the story. Is it the World War II kind of reenactment of the horror that they experienced being bombed, and
that was part of it.
Their existence being challenged every day, every moment of every day by being bombed, and having real bombs going off.
Well, if I remember right, Roger Waters' father was in the war, and so that, but I probably wouldn't have been in World War II then, huh? Maybe.
I think it would.
Could have been. No, but he's too old. He's too old for that. So it might have been World War I, maybe.
Could have been.
Could have been.
Wow, yeah.
We got to look it up. But Roger Waters' father was in the war, and so there's some of the stories of him. Look, Mommy, there's an airplane in the sky. She's the kid, I think, if I remember right.
I'll be the producer and look it up.
We've forgotten more about music than most people ever know. So, by the way, I just want to remind everyone that there's basically two kinds of music. The music I like and the music that sucks. Those are the only two kinds of music there are when it comes down to it. So, well, we try to be objective journalists here, but in general, we're not. We're subjective. And people that's another funny thing. When I go to concerts, everyone's like, it's all subjective. It's all what you like, I'm like, yeah, but my opinion is better than your opinion. So yeah, it's all subjective, but your subjectivity is not as good as mine.
Roger Waters' father, Eric Fletcher Waters, a conscientious objector who later joined the Army, was killed on February 18th, 1944 during the Battle of Anzio in Italy while serving as a second lieutenant with the 8th Battalion, the Royal Fusiliers.
Wow.
Wow.
It's crazy, too, is that you could be a corporal and then go into battle, and the general gets killed, and then you move up one, and your sergeant gets killed, you move up one, then you're lieutenant, and the next week you're running the place because everybody above you got killed. You got promoted each time. So sometimes you could change your stripes or add your medal count. Your medal count. Yeah. You could raise those up a little bit real quick, like. So, but yeah, that's good to know. Good history. But I know that's part of it.
Impetus, or what drove him to write the wall?
Yep, that's definitely part of it for sure. For sure. And it's I think about growing up. We would watch Friday night at high school. Whoever's parents were out of town, we'd rent the wall and go watch it 100 times in a row.
Wow.
Well, either that or we go to the keg party, whichever one came first. But watched it about 50 plus times, and not quite as many times as Song Remains the Same, mind you, which I still own on VHS and I still watch religiously. So,
did I ever tell you the time when I was in the Army and inspired by Bob Geldof in the movie The Wall?
Yes.
It's just a little bit of a crazy story, but
yes.
I
love a good tangent.
I did the Bob Geldof. There's some bad things. I had a parachuting accident in '85, and during that time, the Army military didn't really have a good way of dealing with head injuries, and I lost it for a little bit there, but I was still in the service, and they would have.
You lost it, man.
I lost it. That should have been medically discharged. I had a spinal cord injury, broke a vertebrae in my back, and several other parts of it. But a head injury was one of the worst that I had to deal with right then. The other injuries caught up with me later, but there I am. I'm in Hawaii at this time, and as an Army scout, and I had there'd been a fight with some MPs that it's not to going to give you the whole story, but there is at Waikiki, and I was defending my sergeant who we were ordered to sleep in our cars instead of driving drunk. We go partying down in the Keys, not to drive back to the base, not to drive back to Schofield Barracks, and to sleep in our cars. So we were sleeping in our cars, and some MPs came over and woke us up. These were not the nice kind of guys that were looking out for us or anything like that. They wanted to start a fight with us, and we'd been training all week out in the field and had hardly any sleep. It had been a typhoon had hit, and we were stuck out there. All the roads were wiped out, and they couldn't pull us out of the field. So we got zero sleep, and here we are Friday night. Sure enough, you're 25 years old. You're going to be down in Waikiki partying.
Sure.
And so we still had, I should have been sleeping back in the barracks, but I wasn't. Had those hormones were still flowing. So there I was, but Sergeant Nelson, the fight got really ugly, and I had to jump in. They had him cuffed up on the ground, and we're doing knee drops in his back, and I had to jump into the whole thing. But it got really ugly, the whole proceedings. I almost got sent to Leavenworth for defending Sergeant Nelson.
They messed with the wrong hombre. Right?
They did. All I did was say, hey, you can't do that again after one knee drop on his. They're going to break his back.
Yes.
And they came at me with those clubs.
Even the WWE frowns on knee drop, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
So it all turns out that I had to take this punishment because I didn't want to take it I was going to take it to a court-martial. But they got to Sergeant Nelson and made him change the story of what happened.
I believe it's Major Nelson. Oh, wait, that's Dream of Genie. That's different.
But so I here I am with this head injury, and I'm not doing as well as I should have been. I had been drinking far more than ever since 6 months or 8 months after that parachuting accident at Fort Benning. But there I was being punished for everything. All the money was taken from me. I'm doing extra duty every day, getting about 5 hours sleep, and I lost it more than I thought I would have. But I was plotting to go after those MPs. I was thinking that, hey, I'm gonna take them out. And
get the battle plan. Draw the battle plan.
So part of me said, no, you can't do that, Mike. You can't, Reefa. You can't be a killer. So
that'd be the devil's angel side on the one side.
Yeah, I got to get out of here. And I asked my sergeants to let me go and to get me out of the service but I couldn't give them I couldn't tell them I was going to be plotting to kill these MPs. So meanwhile,
yes.
The things you confess in a podcast.
I mean, I just hope they'll kick the door down right now and take you away.
So I did.
Do it.
I did the Bob Geldof, and I went AWOL for a few days.
Shaved your eyebrows?
I shaved every hair off of my entire body except my privy. And I came back.
Why'd you stop there?
I came back. Eyebrows and everything.
Eyebrows and all. Title of my next album.
And I came back after 2 days. I had to set the effect by going AWOL.
There you go.
And came back.
To prove a point.
And it was on the same day some new recruits had came in and some new guys that came into our unit. And I checked in at the captain's office and said, "Oh, you're one of the new guys." And I said, "No, I'm Private Koonsman."
Yes.
And I'd like to get out of the military because I'm losing my mind. And he said, we're going to get you on out of here, son.
You're going to be just fine.
So I got out on a general.
Should I speak more slowly? Can you understand what I'm saying?
I got out on a general discharge under honorable terms. It was not my proudest moment.
Honorable's good. Yeah.
But I never killed anybody. So
Hey,
that's all I can say.
But one thought.
I'm innocent.
Yes, I'm innocent. I swear. So if I think about the times I will replay an old football game and an old sporting event, it's pretty few and far between. But I'll replay an old concert. Legendary Time Red to Save or something like that. I'll still watch that again and get a lot out of it. But I rarely will watch a football game from 30 years ago. I won't. I mean, if it came on ESPN I don't know.
It doesn't have the same magic. The magic's not there. Yeah, because that intensity, who won or lost.
Well, that's a big part of it.
The concert has beauty in it and an art.
Yeah, it's true.
The game doesn't have that.
And you can learn more
level.
about every time you watch it. You can learn something and see something you didn't see. But also we got cell phones. So if you're watching a football game and cell phones ring at your old football game and you're kind of into it, but but when it happened, you were fully focused on every single play. Like if you're a huge fan, you're not just taking a couple plays off and going. It's like you're focused on every single play and you're feeling it in the moment. And then if you're watching it back 30 years later, if you were there, that was your favorite game or favorite memory, then I can understand.
I still don't have that. That intensity's not there. It's just not.
Yeah.
And
well, when I was talking about that Pink Floyd concert, different. I felt I had a little. When I was talking about the Chiefs Broncos game when Montana came back, I wasn't feeling that. If they had biofeedback on me, it wouldn't have been as. It would have been. You would have seen the level spike on the concert story more than on the Elway story.
So beauty and art.
Sorry, John.
over past intensity that's faded.
True.
The beauty and art doesn't fade. It is one of the facts that we've we're delving into here in this discovery, this conversation.
Which is why I'm Johnny Concert, not Johnny Football. So as much as I love football, but it's. And then think about this. Think about rules over time. Where you can't hit the people as hard as you used to be able to, and subtle changes like that. They're like really big deal. And penalties, think about what if like somebody missed a couple notes during a concert, the referee came out, threw a flag, said, "Okay, you're going to the penalty box for 2 songs now. We gotta, they get fined or something like that, because they missed a couple notes or something like that. It's some others, definitely some not so subtle differences, really. I mean, a different rule change can affect the foot game, a sporting event. For that moment on every time they play it. And meanwhile, there's not very few and far between where you say, oh, you can't play those certain chords. There's 3 chords that are, we made, the owners meeting came together and there's 3 chords you can't play anymore. No, that's not going to happen. So that's another difference.
The only thing I can think of is the loudness fact that Fiddler's Green has.
Well,
and, where the band, you can't play as loud. But I still don't notice the difference there at the concert.
They've changed those restrictions a little bit. And but you're right. Well, they both feature super loud volumes, that's for sure. Decibels, excitement. Yeah. If it's too loud, you're too old type of thing. And that's another point about it. But so I gotta say I'm leaning towards the concerts over the sporting events. But I do have a friend of mine that has Avalanche tickets on the glass. Maybe the best 4 seats in the whole place is behind at the Pepsi Center. Was now called Ball Arena, and it's behind the goal we attacked twice on the glass. And when these hockey players hit that glass right in front of you, it is wow. That is something.
Yeah,
that is something. That's different. That's a whole level above.
I went to 2 games that were on the glass with my buddy, good old buddy Kinger. Yeah. And back then I was playing City League ball all the time, and the guy slammed the guy against the wall, and then the other guys. It was just it gets nasty. You see snot and blood flying. It's
amazing when they're that close to him. Like really, there's a couple times where my face was like a foot for the player's face.
So there I am about a week later playing in a playoff basketball game for City League down in Castle Rock, and a guy sticks his finger towards the end of the game, and we're up by 2, but he sticks his finger in my eye. The referee's standing right there, sticks his finger in my eye and scratches the back of my eyelid. Not the eyelid, but the back of my eye, the inside of it. I didn't know that he did it at the time. It felt like he's popping my eyeball out, and he steals the ball out of my hand, runs down and lays it up. I lose my mind after that. Again, I'm crazy. And some head injuries. Not the Bob Geldof, but I did the hockey move. On the next chance I got, I actually chased him down the court and after he did the layup, I grabbed him, wrapped him up, and thank God it was a padded wall because I didn't look to see if it was. Yeah. But I wrapped him up just like I'd seen the guy in the
I'm sure he
hockey
deserved
game
it.
and slapped
Yeah,
him.
you gotta pull
There's
his shirt over so he can't
Reefa
fight.
Jones Confessions of Madness. Oh gosh, they are knocking on the door.
We're learning all kinds of things.
I'm not in here.
We're learning all kinds of things about you today,
I
buddy.
made that story up.
That's why he's Reefa Jones. It's an alias, not a
But it shows
Not a
you,
stage
you
name.
see something, you might be able to do it.
That's true. That's
and
a
I
good
did
point,
it.
too.
I know.
It's a good point too. You realize you're human, and you know there's sometimes they seem superhuman, but
Yeah, not sitting on the glass anymore. So
yeah. Oh, the glass, it's where it's at. It's I mean, I've only been sat there a couple times, but it's so. I mean, wow! It is that's a major deal. When you just talk about I went to a sporting event. Well, that's all well and good. No, I sat on the glass at a professional hockey game. Wow, that's something.
yeah,
That's yeah. You're almost part of the action, you know. And it's just amazing too. They're doing three things: they're skating, they're handling the puck, and they're fighting. That's three sports basically.
yeah.
So it's really impressive. And the size of these suckers, man. These boys are big, dude. Wow, they're big. They are big boys for sure. So well, I'm thinking sporting events are amazing, and concerts are even more amazing. So that's my assessment after our evaluation.
Beauty and art. The beauty and art of a concert outweighs for longevity of memories
I think
and
so.
impressions on
I
my
think so.
memory bank in my brain and in yours. Is from the sounds of it outweighs the intensity of a game that you feel it's more doesn't last as long. The long lasting effect of the concert outweighs it.
I think so too. And I think it's still during the performance too. Could be more of a magical moment. I think, close your eyes and feel the music, and also just a little less like once the show started and everyone's, even if there's people talking here and there, but you're kind of above mundane conversation and stuff and earth, human thing. You're almost above earthly into the. Rising above it versus at a Bronco game, anybody can say anything. You'll hear 50 conversations about the dumbest shit or the most brilliant shit, or poignant comments about the game, or just silly, stupid human stuff that just it can.
Floating in essence.
Floating in essence.
That's a concert.
Yes, you're not floating in essence at a football game. Well, unless the guy behind you pukes on you, then you're floating in essence.
Spills a beer on you.
Spills his beer, and then he.
Oh gosh.
I think there's a little bit less beer spilled at concerts too, but not by much. But there's probably a little bit less beer spilled, depending on.
Right.
Well, thanks for joining us. Leave a comment what your best sporting event is. But leave a comment your opinion on sports versus. Concerts.
And your best concert.
But it's your best concert, your best, in the comments, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And we're going to be doing a bunch more of these. So,
Reefa Jones.
I'm Johnny Concert. And
Signing off.
Signing off.